Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello and welcome to the Daily Southampton, part of the Global Sports Podcast Network. I am your host today, Zachingo Finch. As always, joined by the illustrious, stupendous, wonderful Gregory Elliott. Mate, how you doing?
I'm doing all right, mate. Look, it's everyone's favourite day of the week. It's Transfer Tuesday. What more could we be looking forward to? I am so excited.
It is. And once again, you did the thing, you made the mistake, Greg, of saying to me, oh, whoa, I don't think there's been that much happening in the last week, is there? And I'm like, oh, Greg, there's always stuff happening. Whether or not it's real, who knows?
Turns out August is the month it's all happening in after all.
Supposedly so. So as always with these episodes, I like to open up with a little bit of a quote from the ongoing situation at our club regarding transfers. And I've actually got two today. And the first of all is pinned to the top of, I think it's the Saints Extra X profile. And it is that the Saints FC technical director, Johannes Spores, said that squad planning is an art that only becomes clear at the end. So that feels like a bit of a get out of jail free card. Because I feel like if you're fighting people on the last day, as far as I'm concerned, you've done it wrong. So,
Sorry, to me that just sounds like, yes, everything is better with hindsight.
Correct. It's just a very funny quote. And obviously, we're still on signing a goalkeeper. Dylan Moody off the plays with the 21s. And we need 3 keepers on training at times. So just for numbers, I think we'll look to bring someone in. We're assessing the situation, trying to get the right person in. I will warn you, Greg, that of all the rumours in the last week, not a single one of them that I have been able to find is about a goalkeeper. So unless you found one about a goalkeeper...
No, but it doesn't matter, mate, because all of the rumours are nonsense and the real transfers happen without us knowing. So it's all fun and games, isn't it?
Correct, which is it's strange telling this story to you and listeners, because it is like it's fiction until it's not. It's basically how you got to take all of the transfer rumours, right? It's a story until it's no longer a story. So obviously, Greg, it's dealer's choice as always. Would you like to start with the incomings? Would you like to start with the outgoings?
Always the outgoings. We always start with the outs.
Perfect. So, once again, thank you to Just Saints, Saints Extra, Alfie House, all of the usual suspects who collate all of this information over the space of, non-stop throughout the week. And then we cherry pick out a lot of the transfer information, and then we do a little bit of our own research on the side, and then we, have a discussion about it as well. So you lovely people can listen to it in a format that maybe suits you a bit better than having to read through tons of X posts. I don't know. Either way, thanks for listening. So we'll crack on with outgoings. Armel Bellicot Chap, mate. So it was a question that Alfie House asked of Will Still, I think part of the press conference the other day. He asked if he was actually part of his plans, and he said, no, he'll probably leave, but he needs to find the right option for him. He needs to find the right option for us. He's not part of it at the moment. And obviously, since the dawn of the transfer window, there's been lots of links to Germany, obviously. I think that there is a bit of contention over him wanting to kind of go, but us not wanting to take a cut price for him. And then there's still lots of we want to try and get 10 million for him. That kind of seems insane. Considering that's how much we paid for him, and I think he's really shown to be a £10 million player, but at the same time he's massively rated highly in Germany for obvious reasons, and it might just be that he does actually need to find the right club to capture his best form. But either way, it's kind of, he won't be around or part of the squad now, maybe ever. I think we've probably seen the last time we've seen him. I think
discussed. We worked that out. Look, I think we discussed it at length last season when 3 or 4 different managers didn't involve him, and then did involve him for a bit, and then very quickly didn't again. So, I took from that everything I needed to.
Either way, I think we talked about it before that he was sort of like, I think he was on like a park run in Germany on like one of the days of like the first day of the season. So he's been out and about. He's training, I think, independently with personal trainers and stuff. So I very much doubt we'll see him in the future, but there's still no concrete news on where he's going. So Sam Adosi, another one we've kind of frequently talked about. still talked about his future and said there are offers, there are things moving for him. I think he's taking his time to decide what he really wants to do and where he wants to go. But yes, there's a strong possibility that Sam won't be here. That is according to Alfie House, when obviously he interviewed still. I think it's part of the presser. But this is no surprise. I think me and you have both seen the rumours that apparently it's either between Club Brugge or Strasbourg, which we've talked about previously. We talked about that last week. But basically, it's that one has put a bigger bid in than the other, and he wants to go to the other. So it's a problem. And that's why everyone's kind of at loggerheads, right? But So I guess we'll see some movement on it. But, Ameu is loving life at Strasbourg. They seem to be doing really well. They're building a really big young squad. So I wouldn't be surprised. But I know that, if he enjoyed Belgium, it would make sense for him to go back to a Belgian side. So I guess we'll hear more of it. But I think we can kind of start to rule him out of the plans until the window shuts and he's still here. In which case, then, things might change. But that's that on Sam Adosi, mate. My Joe Aribo update is I have no update. As you pointed out, stuff happens in the background and we aren't aware of it. So either something is going to happen or it's not. There is no fuel to that fire, I'm afraid. So Tyler Diblin, obviously feels like that kind of saga's come to a bit of an end, but maybe not, because obviously he had his appearance over the weekend. I think everyone was kind of happy to see him. There are people that are mad about it still. It's football. What are you going to do? But let's start from where we were at last week, right? So apparently we made a counter offer to Everton, which could trigger a deal at any time. The fee is supposed to be slightly lower than between the 47 and 46 that we said it needed to be. So that was according to Pletty Goal. I don't know how much sort of you want to attach to that, because we've seen where we are about a week later. Well, a bold on Tyler Dibbling and Everton. If the player indicates he really wants to go and Southampton are willing to lower their price, Everton would come back to the table. They are now looking at Ipswich's Amari Hutchinson, which obviously aged like milk, because Amari Hutchinson is now at Nottingham Forest. Yeah. So we exchanged a fun story about how Steele was asked if he thinks Dibbling will stay, and replied with, "It's the $1 million question, isn't it?" And then there was a little bit of banter back and forth about, is he going to stay though? And obviously, realistically, there's a lot of chance of we don't know.
The entire room in the press conference, the journalist turned around and was like, "I would like to ask you about Tyler Diblin," and Will Steele's literal reaction was, "Oh, you're going to ask me about his future, aren't you?"
It must get old real quick, right?
Yeah. But look, I mean, from the information we've got, I feel like Everton becomes a less attractive prospect for a player like Tyler Diblin, knowing that he's going to be sharing minutes with Jack Grealish.
Yeah,
and we're not going to probably come down, I wouldn't imagine, enough on the deal. It feels like that's a no-go. It feels like if someone else comes in, maybe he'll still go, but I don't see it being to Everton this window.
No, ironically, I could see it being somewhere like a Forest instead. Despite the fact that they seem to just be tapping up everybody as well as keeping Morgan Skip White, right? So that's one of those things. But yeah, that's pretty much all the information on his future for the time being. And obviously, there was a lot of conversations last week about him being reintegrated into the squad. I don't need to repeat that because you were aware that he was. He played a role Saturday, so that'll be that now. He was back in training. So I guess we'll just have to see how this pans out. It's not over until it's over, but obviously it's giving everybody that lovely, wonderful false hope we like to keep inside. So, Will Smallbone, Greg. This is just one update that's been in the last week, but according to Football League W, Southampton are intent on offloading Will Smallbone this summer and have set an asking price of £8 million. I don't really know where that's come from. It kind of makes sense. I guess that if you look at the pecking order, he's probably quite low down and he probably wants to move. I don't think he would be. I think he'd be sad to go. I don't think it's something that he's necessarily pushing for. But I guess it would make sense if he wants to get the game time and he's not going to get the game time here. But it doesn't seem hugely concrete, right? There were even rumours the other week of him going to Ipswich that we discussed. So that's the only real update I've seen. And again, it's very,
I think you're right. Look, when you look at our midfield, he doesn't slot in a like for like way for any of the the ways we seem to be wanting to play. And he's not an impact player because he's not a specialist. He's a sort of all-rounder as such. I don't know.
It's almost like injury cover, right? That's kind of where I see him being. But the problem is that, I feel like you got Shea Charles and Downs that are definitely going to be favoured. We've still got Aribo's future up in air. We've got Matsuki in, I think he probably played more of an attacking role, but can sit back and play in those roles. So where does Smallbone fit into the overall squad plan? And if they're trying to trim and he's not going to be playing week in, week out, it wouldn't surprise me if he wants to move on. But I wouldn't wish him any will. And to be honest, it's not, I think he's still a useful, versatile squad player to have about. It's just, I guess we'll just have to see how it pans out.
Yeah, 100%.
Right. Onto the last sort of conversation about outgoings. And obviously, it's Matias Fernandes. Now, the West Ham stuff has cooled down a little bit. The discourse on X has calmed down a little bit. As a non-chronically online person, Greg, I'm glad for you to have missed all of that. Despite the fact that all I see when I go on it now, even if it's not there, is the Megamind meme, right? Where it just says no Fernandes everywhere. Haunts my dreams. Because that is basically what a lot of our fan base spent doing, trolling the Central West Ham X account. And they were the guys that Greg said that we would rue the day, and they were the ones that said we'll take 30 million and we'll like it, and clearly that hasn't panned out. So
not ever how that's going to happen.
No, but this is where it must be quite nice to not be as chronically online as me, mate. To be perfectly honest. So let's start from sort of the middle of last week. So they said the top spokesman for West Ham's owners on whether they are confident in signing Matias Fernandes or two midfielders. No, on both counts. And that is according to hammer.net. Hammer.news. That's finally, it's not even the people's names tripping me up today. It's all the handles, mate. So West Ham appear unable to offer Southampton any more money for Matias Fernandes unless they sell players first, which is proving difficult. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me looking at West Ham's opening weekend that they are struggling to ship some of their players. Unless it was Kudus, who ironically would have been really handy for them at the weekend. So I kind of feel bad. Makes sense as to why they're trying to probably go after Matty that so much. So according to the account West Ham Football, West Ham will not pay more than their rejected £30 million bid for Matias Fernandes and believe Southampton's £50 million price tag is too much. Okay. Water is wet.
Yeah, don't pay it then. Great. Happy days. Yeah.
And then we got a bit more information from the ex-WHU employee on Matias Fernandes, who said, we have decided we will not bid again for the time being. There is going to be a significant movement on both sides for a deal to be completed. I don't think this is over yet, as the player and agent are very keen on the move.
Okay.
West Ham have been weighing up another move for him.
Seems to have played 2 games since then and be just fine.
Yeah. So according to the same guy, West Ham have been weighing up another move for Matias Fernandes, but have decided it's currently pointless because we are demanding almost £60 million.
Yeah.
So we really are budget. They're like 30 and we're like, no. But what about 30 again? No. He's worth 60. Well, that's insane. You're a relegated club. Okay. Buy another player. That seems, if he goes for 30 million and someone's made a horrible decision, well, I'll eat my words. I'm not too proud to say that I've made a mistake, but it doesn't seem like everything we've been shown so far means we're moving that goalpost anytime soon.
No.
However, this is the latest bit of news, Greg. According to Jay Percy at The Telegraph, Nottingham Forest remain hopeful of agreeing a deal with Southampton for Matias Fernandes, who is keen to continue playing in the Premier League. But the current asking price is understood to be around £50 million. So it seems that nobody can get the current asking price correct. So, if it's 50 million to Forest, maybe there's a different conversation going on behind the scenes. Either way, it just kind of seems a bit like non-mover. And obviously we know at the beginning of the window there was supposed to be 12 to 13 clubs interested. The next sort of 2-3 weeks I think are going to be key, and we'll just have to see from there realistically.
I think it's going to be one that either way goes down to the wire, a bit like the Prowsey situation last championship season. It's man, I hope we keep him.
Yeah, me too. And that's all I have to say on that matter. So we can take a little break now and hear a word from our partners at Bionique.
Your body is unique, and Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bionique, the world's most personalised supplements. Bionique provide 100% tailor-made supplements, designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bionique. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now. Your body is...
We are back, Greg, and because, once again, I am unable to control how time works or pay attention to how long I'm talking for, realised we've got to try to fit an ad break in between the incomings. So what we're going to do, Greg, is we're going to go through the incomings that are sort of recent developments, potentials, and then we'll actually have a big conversation around Eduard Spurzian, right? The guy in Russia is potentially coming in. So we'll start with some of the potential incomings, and we'll start with Louis Patrice. So Southampton are a concrete option for the Centurion defender Louis Patrice, who is currently valued at 3.5 million, and that is according to Sasha Tavoleri. Probably slightly wrong, but better than every other time I've tried to pronounce that man's name. Kind of makes sense. He's a right back, Greg. We need a right back.
Yeah, that seems
Need I
logical.
say more? It has been so far what I can see to be the only sort of addition, the sort of only rumour for this edition, right? There's not really been anywhere else that's kind of spoken much about it. So maybe we'll hear something a little bit more concrete. The next is Rory Whittaker. Have you heard of Rory Whittaker, Greg?
No.
You should have. We've signed him. He's now on the
Right.
under 21
is this
team.
Yeah, I did see that we signed him. Him and another one, right? We signed two into the under 21s this week.
So Rory Whittaker, we have completed the permanent signing of Hibernian right back Rory Whittaker. The club's Scottish sporting director, Mulkey McKay, has said, and that's according to the Eden Reporter, so he is already on the under 21s list on the website. I can't remember the name of the other guy as well, but that is also listed on the website. It's great because you can tell who they are because they don't have media pictures. It's just a Saint shirt and a stick man, basically. But that means we have signed a right back option, but clearly not for the first team.
No, I mean, look, building up the academy and building up the players that are going to be coming into the first team is going to continue to be a huge part of what Sports Republic want to do. So,
correct.
Some people are going to get frustrated that we're making more academy signings than we are first team signings, but also they're probably a bit easier to get over the line. So,
yep. And also Dibbling, Jay Robinson, both academy signings. Both, some of them both of them have pretty much come through from day one. So these academy signings are the ones that will essentially keep us afloat in the future, I feel. And also potentially build our squad and make it greater down the line. So it's not as exciting. It's not as sexy as Will Steele would put it. But it is what it is. So next one, Greg, that I want to talk about is Leo Ciencia. So he is a Brazilian, half Brazilian, half Luxembourgian, who plays for FC Heidenheim. And he's been added to our shortlist of targets after initial contact, according to Berger PJ. And that is something, I've started to see more rumours of this circulate over the last week. Apparently, according to Petit Goal, there we go. Again, they said Southampton are trying to sign Heidenheim winger before deadline day with talks underway. Köln and Gladbach are also interested, with the German side looking for at least 10 million euros. Obviously, in classic us being linked with someone that everyone could be excited about, Greg, he scored twice at the weekend. Admittedly, it was in a cup game, not the most exciting cup game in the world, but he scored a brace. So, happy days. He could play left, right, and centre midfield, like attacking midfield. He has scored 48 goals and assisted 47 times in 53 total appearances. So he's got a goal and assist in him. Admittedly, a lot of that was at a younger level and in other places, but got to take into account the full career, right? So that's our link to him. Righty-o, according to Sports Pete O, we have been linked with Arthur Avon, who plays for Lorient. Us, Leicester, Bournemouth, and Brentford are showing interest in him. Looking at where he plays, he kind of plays attacking centre, but mainly sort of is a central midfielder, and defensive. So for me, I don't know how much cadence there is to those rumours, right? Because I would only really see us bringing in another player like that if Aribo and Smallbone were both to go. So there's only one left. There's 1 year left on his contract, but he's also got the option for another year. And it seems like we might be having a look at him, but realistically, we've got other positions that we want to prioritise for, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, that's that. Unfortunately, for anyone who is a big fan of Jack Redoni, Jack Redoni has made it clear that he wants to remain at Coventry for this season at least. Southampton made an approach earlier in the window, but it would take a special offer for any move to now materialise. And that's according to Sam C reports. That kind of makes sense because I've not really heard any movement on that transfer since it was kind of linked last week.
I think it's fair enough. He's clearly settled there. They're going to be making a push this season. He's one of their key players. He's not going to be struggling for minutes or anything. He's going to be probably one of the standout players in the Championship this year. So, don't blame him for staying. Good on him.
We'll have to see if that goes anywhere or does not. There's still 2 weeks left, but I feel like, let's stand head and shoulders above a lot of the other people that are flinging mud at us when we try and get a player and it doesn't work out is what it is, So that's that. One of the other players that we've been recently linked to, Greg, according to Here We Go himself, Fabrizio Romano, Morgan Guilavogui. It's how it's pronounced, but it's not how it's spelled. So you can have a look. His X page has got the information all over it. But apparently we have open talks for lens attacker Morgan Guilavogui. No agreement on fee, but negotiations are on. So 27-year-old plays on the right, play on the left, and centre forward as well.
And from Will Steele's old club.
He has scored 54 goals and had 16 assists in 200 games. So, again, I know that we don't usually go too much on statistics, but as the amount of information that I am having to dump at an extremely quick rate on everybody that listens, if I was also to do a small profile on every single player, this would not be a daily podcast.
It would be a 24-hour stream.
You're not wrong. Especially if I start interacting with comments and chatting to people, because you know how easily it is to get me to go off on a tangent. Right, so that is all of the incomings, which is significantly more links than we've had in the run-up previously, right? Like, we're starting to get properly linked here, left, right, and centre. Even if it's just small, it seems like, I don't feel like there's a huge amount of agents there going, put a rumour in that Southampton are coming in. That will change everything. Except maybe our last topic of conversation after a word from our partners at Zencastr.
So here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform, and Zencastr came out the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description and learn more about Zencastr.
And we are back for the final part of Transfer Tuesday. Greg, Eduard Spurzian.
Yeah.
I think we're getting used to pronouncing that name now because we've had nothing but information about him.
Real waste of that practice if nothing comes of it,
right? I swear, Armenian football, if you have made me spend all of this time paying attention to your X page and having to Google Russian words to find out what's real and what's not, I will not be happy. However, besides the point, let's go from last week and where we're at with this transfer, right? Because I was I was debating whether it would be even over the line today. And now people are talking about how it's off because of either potentially a mistranslation or something else, but we'll get there. So last week when he was asked about it, he said, Will Steele said, that there is a big list of players that we have looked at, and Eduard was a big part of that list. He's a good player, or was a part of that list. He's a good player. He's got a proven record, and we're interested in good players, but that's about it. Or as much as I can say. So read between the lines there, right? That's about it, or as much as I can say. And that is from Murphy House, reporting extraordinaire. The fact that he asks these questions is why we have this information. So we are biased. So there was also then conversation around him meeting with the Krasnodar president on the weekend, right? To clarify his future, as apparently he wants to join Southampton and the Russian club are satisfied with the offer. Then more information, that was according to Armeni Football. Then there was more information that dropped that they said, despite suggestions of other clubs entering the race, Southampton are still clear favourites for Eduard Spurzian after increasing their offer to 14 million euros plus bonuses. He could play his last game for the Russian club this evening, and that was yesterday. And that is also according to Armenian Football. So either he really likes us and really wants Spurzian to play for us, and is just kind of putting all the rumours that way. But this also backs up information that I saw. So one of the links that he's had to other clubs is FC Porto. And apparently they came in with like a 10 million bid. I want to say Lens also came in with a bid. The Porto link makes sense because when I was trying to look to see if I had enough information to do a player profile on him, which it seems like I don't know, I might still see, but he's played for one club his entire career pretty much. So it's difficult to be able to stretch that out if there's not a lot of information. And plus, where it's Russia, very, very different information laws to us. At least everything that you can find is often translated, and some of it can be translated poorly. So I don't want to do that on a player I don't want to just make stuff up, essentially.
Yeah.
But either way, through that, I found a conversation that happened early July that was talking about how there has been interest from European clubs, and one of the interested clubs was Porto. So that is from way before this transfer was even in the news. So that backs that up a little bit, right?
Yeah. So really the question becomes, is he leveraging us to get a better deal with Porto or from Porto? Or does he really want to come here? And I guess the real answer is we won't know until something happens or doesn't happen, right?
So this is the information, the rest of the information that I've got, Greg. So he scored a brace against Sochi the other day, 2 goals, obviously, because he's going to join us, which, is how it is. And on his future, he said that I am here for now and playing. We'll see. There's still time. And the big thing that's caused controversy today is that when he was talking about it in like a post-match interview, the line that everybody's taken and run with, which is by Sports Today on Twitter, is X. Yes, everyone already knows the interest was real. So the big focus there is on the word was. However, the next part of that conversation, Greg says, I can't say anything about negotiations. The club is handling that, which implies that negotiations are ongoing, which implies that we haven't dropped the ball. It's just that stuff is happening, right? Yeah. He has basically said, I'm not involved with it. I just play football. It would be nice. My agent and the club president are handling all of the negotiations. I'm just here.
Stands to reason. Perfectly reasonable. I'm sure that it is a very complicated transfer for a number of reasons, transferring from that particular part of the world. So it makes sense that it's going to drag on for a bit.
It's going to be also there's going to be negotiations. The club president, we don't really have as much of a presidential system here. Reminds me far more of like Barca and that lot. So that's pretty much it. That is the information that I have. Thanks again to Just Saints, Saints Extra, Alfie House, all the people that make our job significantly easier. Because without all of the information and sources collated, it would take significantly longer to do these episodes. And as a daily podcast, helps out a massive amount. Thanks again to you, Greg, for listening to my rambling and insanity. As you can tell, I'm knackered. This is all being done on fumes. Thanks again to all of you wonderful listeners. I hope that you've all learned a thing or two and can cite the GSPN podcast for citing Just Saints for citing somebody else in your conversations around the transfers that may or may not happen. So thanks once again for always listening. We will be with you in the next one. That will be something Saints related. And until then, thank you and goodbye.
Bye, everyone.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.